Okay, Doctor, you have spoken extensively on the abuses and the campaign of calumny. Now, can you please tell us how you got involved with the AGV that you decided to step down from?
Oh, all right. Again, thank you for the opportunity to mention that. You know, I have been convinced since this crisis started, right from the beginning, that it can be resolved only through dialogue, and it's going to end up being resolved through dialogue. And therefore, right from the start, I took up advocacy for dialogue on the Anglophone problem. And it was in the sense of, number one, there has to be a national dialogue on the Anglophone problem. But number two, that national dialogue has to be preceded by a meeting of Anglophones amongst themselves. So that was a two-prong or the two-element strategy of advocacy that I adopted from the start. And as many people know, through the establishment of the Anglophone Cameroon Dialogue Forum, the press releases that we issued, the proposal that we submitted to the head of state on the 13th of October 2017, proposing just this course of action and many other things. We have been working on this. It's an open secret that we've been pushing this agenda. And we tried to involve our senators, our members of the National Assembly, our traditional rulers, but unfortunately for various reasons, they did not get involved. They didn't want to get involved. And I did approach religious leaders, urging them to play the role of fronting for their people to secure a national dialogue on the Anglophone problem and also to convene an Anglophone conference. Now, while I was going around doing this and giving interviews and both on radio and television and newspapers, Cardinal Toomey noticed my efforts, which turned out to coincide with what he had been reflecting on the same as a possible solution to the same problem. And so, as he repeatedly recounts to whoever wants to hear, especially the Ambazonians, when the AGC was announced and they said it was Munzu's thing, trying to fool the cardinal and all of that, the cardinal has repeatedly said that he sent for me, I did not send for him. Because having seen that we had similar ideas on the matter, my name came up in conversation between him and the Bishop of Kumbo on these issues. And when the Bishop of Kumbo, whom I had contacted at the time that I was trying to speak to the heads of various churches, in his capacity as the president of the Episcopal Conference of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, so he had my contact information. And so when the cardinal asked him how he could contact me, his lordship, Bishop Nko, said, I have his number. And that's how he gave my number to the cardinal, and the cardinal invited me. I traveled from Victoria to come and sit with him in Douala. And we discussed and decided that this was the way to go. We will partner to make this thing happen. And so, to cut a long story short, he mandated me to continue my effort in terms of contacting other clergy. And I contacted the Presbyterians, the Baptists, the Muslims, and so on and so forth, acting under the commission, as it were, of the cardinal, until that 25th of July, when, with all the background work having been done, they met in Douala, reviewed all the steps that have been taken, and decided to convene the conference, thus issuing the press release which they issued on that day. And I felt humbled, but at the same time grateful to God that not only had they accepted to take on this mantle and to do something that I had been advocating for so long, but also that they should find in my modest person someone to whom they could confide the responsibility for coordinating the preparation, the organization of the conference. And so when they designated me the spokesperson of the College of Conveners, and at the same time the coordinator of the organizing committee, I very readily accepted. I saw no point hesitating at all, you know. And we worked very well together. I am pleased to say that I enjoyed their confidence all along. I think you saw some of that yourself, and I continue to do so. But when the Cardinal indicated that, remember that you and I had encouraged the Cardinal,
yes,
to establish contact with our brothers in the separatist diaspora, and talk to them, especially the separatists, talk to them into attending this conference, and he did. So when he reported to us, and again you were there, Eli, the day that the Cardinal reported back to us,
yes,
not once, not twice, when he mentioned that, a number of occasions, he mentioned that some of the Ambazonian leadership told him that they had no problem with, no quarrel with the conference, but for the fact that Simon Munzu is associated with it. And again, you were present, you were there, when I offered to the Cardinal and to moderator of the Presbyterian Church that if that is so, or that being so, the best thing is that I should step down. Because to me it was very important that the conference goes ahead, and it was very important that the 5-day lockdown, which had just been decreed by Chris Anu and the interim government and others, should not take place, because I didn't want our people to be subjected to 5 more days of the misery that comes with ghost towns, just because people felt that Simon Munzu's presence in the organizing committee was a problem.
Exactly.
And that is why for those 2 reasons, I opted to step down. And I'm glad that when I did, the Cardinal and the conveners designated you, yes, to take over. And I can see that since taking over, you've been doing a fabulous job, and I can only encourage you,
thank you,
to carry on with that. And you can always count on my support, as I said to the venerable conveners on that day. I remain a willing resource person, and I will continue to provide my contribution to this venture, this initiative, for as long as I can, even without being the coordinator of the conference organizing committee.
Okay, and Dr. Well, we know you have a very busy time. We'll be coming to the end of this program, or of this interview. We have two quick questions to ask. First, so Cardinal Tumi wasn't your puppet, and finally, what is the way forward?
No, the reason I'm laughing at that, Eli, is, I mean, how can anyone even imagine that Cardinal Tumi would be Simon Munzu's puppet? You know, I'm laughing, but it's the kind of laughter that that underlies a sense of bitterness, because I can't imagine that any of these young people would think that Cardinal Tumi, a man who is venerable in his own right, who has distinguished himself in his own so many ways, the accomplished intellectual that he is, whose mind is still very sharp, will be led by the nose by a certain Simon Munzu. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And what is more disappointing to note is that even after the Cardinal was interviewed, I think it was by you.
Yes.
Yes. Even after the Cardinal was interviewed by you, where he made it very clear that, as he put, to use his phrase, where he said, Munzu didn't look for me. I looked for Munzu. You know, even after all of that, because they still don't believe it. They still don't believe it, because again, that's a characteristic of this, our brothers and sisters of the so-called Ambazonia. Once their minds are made up about something, there's nothing that can persuade them. Bring all the facts you want, bring all the evidence you want, it doesn't move them. So the Cardinal has made it very clear that he is not a pushover, and how could I possibly mislead him? Okay, and now what is the way forward, rapidly? Well, the way forward for me remains what I've always believed, namely that the resolution of this problem is going to require a national dialogue on the Anglophone problem. And that preferably, before that national dialogue is engaged, Anglophones should meet and agree among themselves on the issues. In other words, produce the catalog of evidence of our allegation, as it were, that we are marginalized, we are dominated, we are assimilated. Produce that for anybody who wants to see, including the President of the Republic, who has responsibility for convening the national dialogue. Produce that document. It's important. And then also designate Southern Cameroonians, Anglophones, who would go to that national dialogue and represent our territory and our people to state the case. It's as simple as that. So I continue to hope that the conference will take place, even if there may be a need, anybody may feel a need to adjust how it was going to be, because we had conceived it, as you know, as a mass conference. Are the security conditions going to make it possible for us to proceed by delegation? For example, that divisions hold their meetings and come up with their divisional delegates, if that is feasible. Can we restructure it to involve a meeting of only leaders, opinion leaders across the spectrum of Anglophone, social, professional, and other categories of opinion? Do we, for example, need, in order to iron out some of these divergences, especially with the separatists, would it be advisable, would it not, I would say, would it not be advisable that we perhaps precede the conference, now that we don't know exactly where it will hold, but take the opportunity of this interval to organize what I would call an Anglophone leadership meeting between the conveners, the leadership of Cameroonians in the diaspora across all ideological spectrum, a number of opinion leaders inside Cameroon, and perhaps have such a conference, an Anglophone leadership conference, preparatory to the Anglophone General Conference, have it perhaps outside Cameroon. Why not in a neighboring African country, or one of the African countries, one of the African capitals? I would readily coming to my mind would be Accra, Ghana, for example, or Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. That is also to spare, unless he really wants to do it, spare the cardinal the exertion of having to travel several miles to go to Europe or North America. We could have such a meeting in an auspicious African capital close by. Meet amongst ourselves Anglophones, separatists, federalists, so leaders. So an Anglophone leadership meeting. I don't know some of these sticky points, and then eventually come to the Anglophone General Conference. But I'm thinking aloud here. But I think that if I were to make recommendations, they would go very much along those lines.
Okay, Dr. Simon Munzu, it was a great pleasure having spoken with you today, and that you have spoken your mind.
Thank you very much, Eli. Once again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm glad that we're finally able to have this interview. Thank you.
Thank you too.